Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds. We got a good show here on a Friday night. We got a great guest with us tonight. But before we introduce him and bring him on, got to plug a couple of events. This Sunday night, my dad and I will be a guest on External EX Wolfpack Paranormal Podcast on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central. So come on over, All Access TV Network, and check it out. Bring your questions. Dad and I are ready for you. Um, so come on, check it out Sunday night. We may not do a Sunday night show. I don't know how long this is going for. If it's going for 2 hours or an hour, but also our next event we're going to be at Mortuary Manor on Mother's Day. So come on out. Get your tickets fast. My dad and I are the VIP guests. Get your VIP tickets, come and investigate with us, or get your general admission tickets, and that'll let you go at your own pace. VIP get you access to us, the cousins of the Warrens. So come on out on Mother's Day. If your mom's into the paranormal, get her a ticket as well. She'll have fun. And come and investigate Mortuary Manor with us. We've never been there before, so this will be our first time, so you get to experience the thrills and chills with us. So reach out to Eclipse Paranormal on Eventbrite to get your tickets. Our next one, we will be at Crypticon, Kansas City in August. Get your tickets fast for that because they do sell out quick. There is 3 different ticket types. You've got the gold package ticket types, which is considered VIP. That gets you access to the dinner too with the actors. That also gets you in all 3 days, 30 minutes early before general admission. Then they got the silver package, which is your other VIP package that doesn't get you access to the actors' dinner, but it gets you access in early, 30 minutes early. My dad and I will be there. We are headlining the paranormal portion this year of Crypticon. First ever they're doing the paranormal at this one. So come on out. We are guest speaking on a panel. So come out. And if you want to learn about the Warrens Occult Museum, learn about Ed and Lorraine. So come on out, check that out. Get your tickets fast. We will have merch there for sale as well, along with paranormal equipment. So come on out, check that out. Our other event we're confirmed for is West Kentucky Paranormal Expo in September. My dad and I are the guest speakers there, so come on out and check that out. Aaron G. Thompson is the headliner this year, so you get to meet him as well if you're a fan of 28 Days Haunted. So come check that out. And there's a whole array of speakers: Outlaw Paranormal, Rachel DeMarco, Jen Jacobs, 202 Podcast, and several others. So come on, check that out. And that will be in September. We are also booked for Caney, Kansas, Bordertown Paracon the first weekend in August. I'm waiting for the flyer for that. My dad and I are guest speakers there at that one this year. So come on out. We're giving a presentation, and we're also on the panel. Also, come check out Rock Island Paracon this year too. We will be at that one as well. So that being said, we're not going to keep our guests backstage too long. We're going to bring him on here. He is into the cryptids in Pennsylvania. He's also an author, and we'll let him come on and fill in the blanks. So with that being said, please welcome my guest at this time, Ronald Murphy.
Hey, my friend, thank you very much for having me aboard. I'm looking forward to it. And I will tell you, that's quite an impressive lineup of headlines that you've got coming up. So feel proud about that. And these are some exciting events.
Oh, yeah, we can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be good. I told you before the show started, I hope our paths cross because you're up to some really exciting things. So.
We got some people saying hi. Gary Cooper says, "Greeting, ghosts and ghouls. Guess who's back?" Hey, Sandy, welcome in. Jeanette, welcome in. Mary Lynn, welcome in. So tell my audience a little bit about yourself and kind of fill in the blanks where I left out.
Right, right. So I live in Western Pennsylvania, right in the shadow of the Chestnut Ridge. So I grew up here. I've lived here all my life. So I've always been in kind of the epicenter for the strange and the unusual. Probably 15 minutes from my house is where the Kecksburg incident happened in 1965. Uh, Bigfoot sightings around here dating back to at least the 1950s, if not before. And just like I said, a very interesting thing. Thunderbird sightings, just a very interesting place of a lot of the strange and unusual. And I was lucky enough because growing up, my mother was very into this stuff, and we would go on our own little, our little impromptu Bigfoot investigations, and it was just a great time growing up. And I kind of continued on with it to this very day, and I still drag my kids out in the woods, and we do our investigations. But also, as I've been passionate about this subject, I also decided to start looking at it from a very academic point of view as well too, and doing some real research. And I started to accumulate a lot of research. And I thought, this might make a difference to somebody's, goals and somebody's theses and theories that they have. So I wrote a book. My first book was The Unexplained World of the Chestnut Ridge, which kind of categorized a lot of the sightings around here, from UFOs and Bigfoot, the whole way down to people reporting seeing fairies of all things, and black cat sightings and things of that nature. And then I kind of, went along with my other interests, and I wrote about, Bigfoot by itself, werewolves, vampires, witches, the Squonk. So I really anything that catches my fancy, so to speak, I try to delve into it as much as possible, because at the end of the day, I'm just like you, and I'm just like the listeners. We're all looking for the answers, right? And so I thought I might as well share my research and my theories with everybody. And hopefully, if we put this stuff all together and shake it up, maybe some answers will start appearing.
Right. Gary Carpenter said you've probably heard of the snallygaster.
So, right. So, being part of Appalachia, we have a lot of unique cryptids that other places in the country do not have, right? So, definitely the Squonk, which is almost entirely a figment of Western Pennsylvania. But we have the snallygaster, which can also be seen in places like the hills and hollers of West Virginia. So, it's kind of like a modern day dragon, I guess, if you will. This winged creature that often appears to be very reptilian. But yeah, so we have the snallygaster, we have the knot deer, which is an animal that looks a lot like a deer, but it's not a deer. The hide behind, the black dogs, or the fog wolves and smoke wolves and all that other kind of stuff. So a lot of unique cryptids to this area.
Oh yeah, I did a little bit of research on that. I've did a few podcast episodes on like the feral people, stuff out of the Smoky Mountains and Appalachia, like Tennessee wild and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I also teach a class at the local community college. I teach a class there on hauntings in the area, and because we're a part of Appalachia, we have a lot of the similar type of tropes in our hauntings. The lady in white, the Civil War soldier, crybaby bridges, all this kind of stuff, because we're part of that cultural influence, right? And I really love the idea of hauntings because, and I say this during my classes that I teach, ghosts bring history to life in ways that few other things can do. And they're bookmarks to history. And by studying ghost stories, you really get to learn a lot of the history around here. And I think that if we would approach history in that manner, instead of spouting out names and dates, if we kind of put a face to historical moments, I think we start understanding the broader perspective of everything. And not only that there is a massive amount of history out there that really is left unknown, but
Right.
also it shows how interconnected everybody is as well. We're interconnected in life as well as death. I think whenever people start realizing that we're all in this together in a very philosophical way, then we would start having a far different outlook on life as well.
Right. I agree. And I mean, I grew up on the East Coast, so I grew up in a little town called Callicoon, which was right on the border of New York and Pennsylvania. And we would
Hmm.
have our share of haunted stuff that goes on in that town. And you've heard of the Catskill Mountain
Right.
Bigfoot, and all that stuff. So,
Oh, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. And the Catskill Mountains and the Hudson Valley, they have their very own unique cryptids and hauntings there as well. And I like to talk to people like you because we get to taste a little bit of a different flavor, right? Because your cryptids and my cryptids, although they might be similar, they're still different enough, to have that their own little colloquial spin. And I do enjoy talking to people like that. That's one of the reasons why I like doing conferences across the country, is because I see so many different perspectives whenever people come up to talk to me. And that's how I truly learn even more about these subjects.
right. And I talked to our Missouri Bigfoot guy quite a bit, Carter Burchard, who's got more than over 1,000 reports filed for the state of Missouri of Bigfoot sightings. And he's told me some interesting stories where he's watched one on a thermal camera walking upright like a human being and then just shrink to an orb and just disappear in front of his eyes.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So I didn't give those stories much credence. I was never really in the great ape camp, but I really didn't come very far away from the idea of the flesh and blood narrative. It just made sense to me. But I was doing a project with Small Town Monsters, Seth Breedlove and his group, and we were doing an investigation up on the Chestnut Ridge here in Western Pennsylvania, and we were doing a program on Bigfoot, and we did everything that people do on tape, which is
Mm.
basically trying to make fools of ourselves because we're trying to fit all these kind of investigative techniques into a 1 hour program. So we did the sound blast and the tree knocking and the hoops and hollers and all that kind of stuff. And then it was silent, like nothing was going on. And then all of a sudden, and this is the first time this ever happened to me, I start hearing out of the environment itself the sound of almost like clinging going on. It sounded like a wind chimes. I mean, really, that's what it sounded like. It sounded like there was a pair of wind chimes or a set of wind chimes up in the woods. And almost immediately after the wind chimes happened, the sound of wind chimes, then we start seeing these orbs of light. We saw three at a time. There was a bit of a cadence to them. They were bouncing. It looked like three people were carrying the cell phones out, is what it looked like. And we thought nothing different about that until these lights now ascended about 20 feet up into the trees. There was three different groups that were out, and each group was witnessing in their vicinity these orb phenomenon. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. So something very strange was going on. This went on for about an hour. It seemed as if the orbs were actually evaluating us, trying to figure out what was going on. They seemed to have intelligence to them. They seemed to have a sentience to them. And I wrote this all in a book called Lights in the Mist, which I not only covered my personal experience, but then I looked at experiences from people around the world. And the idea of these earth lights or these intelligent lights that seem to emanate from the world itself, it goes back tens of thousands of years. It goes back to ancient Australia and the Aboriginal legends, and it goes into modern day Switzerland and Sweden, where these things are still being seen, and places like Thailand and Vietnam that have a rich tradition. So really, every place around the world, in every country except in Antarctica, which I've never heard of, have experienced this kind of orb activity. And to throw it out whenever we discuss anything from Bigfoot, UFOs, or even hauntings, because at one time, people based their entire career on finding orbs, because that at one time was the hallmark for a haunting, right? I mean, Zach Bagans loved finding orbs all over the place. So I think these orbs have a meaning to different researchers, but it also ties everything together as well. So I think that very unusual things happen when people do investigations, and sometimes it seems so fantastical that they don't even want to talk about it. But I think it's the things that we don't want to talk about is really the linchpin which binds us all together and maybe be the answer to the question. Now, I don't think, no matter how many podcasts people do, and no matter how often people are out in the woods, and no matter how many books are being written, we're never going to get to a conclusion. I firmly believe that. This world is full of mysteries, and some of these mysteries simply do not have a definitive answer. But that being said, that does not mean that we cannot get closer to the truth. And sometimes being closer to the truth is just as good as, if not better, than a complete answer. Because I think that if we had the answers to everything, that would truly take away a lot of the curiosity and mystery in this world. And I'm glad that there's still mysteries out there. I'm glad that there's still people that are afraid of things that go bump in the night. I still turn on a night light because I like to chase the shadows away too. But it also makes me much more human doing that as well. I know that we human beings are not the end all and be all of everything. And as long as there's still questions out there that are not answered, we will always be searching and always be questing. And as human beings, that is something that we must do.
Right. We had a question, two questions for you actually. Have either of you ever seen a real fairy?
I wrote, probably going back now, let's see here, probably about 6 years, I guess it's been. I wrote a book entitled On Fairies, which was a historical investigation of the Fae. I've been intensely interested in elementals, and whenever I was investigating the Earthlights, I kind of put that together in the elemental group. I'm thinking almost that there is something to it. We're talking about intelligent energies coming from the earth itself. So maybe the lights that I witnessed were fairies or part of the fairy realm. As far as a winged creature, a small Marilyn Monroe type of individual, I've never seen anything like that. But I've been in places in the woods that I felt that I was not alone, and I felt that there was another intelligence out there with me. And if we want to call that intelligence a fairy, I think that that's quite appropriate.
Right. Yeah, and that's the same for me. I mean, I've never actually physically seen one, but I've seen the little lights of them and
Right.
stuff like
Right.
that.
So, C.S. Lewis, who wrote The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe, he wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. He visited a house, he claims, whenever he was a younger man, and it was haunted by ghosts and by fairies. And he said the fairies were far worse than the ghosts were. But the reason why I bring that up is because if we would look at accounts from the Middle Ages, um, a lot of times people thought that these weren't ghosts, that they were indeed fairies. So I think that ghost investigators need to take that in mind as well too, because are we really looking for disembodied spirits or souls of people left behind, or is it possible that there is another entity out there that coexists in this world with us that lives right beyond the veil that we cannot see through? I mean, these are things to take into consideration.
Yep. Another question for you was Carol asked, Ronald, do you do gifting?
So I have not ever tried it because a lot of people that do gifting also try to do habituation, right? That especially whenever it comes to the idea of Bigfoot, you're trying to get the creature to make a habit of coming around and waiting for you to give it something and hope that you'll get something in return. I've never tried it, but talking, if I could talk about fairies again, I've also worked very closely with people that do gift the so-called spirits of the woods, whether you want to call it Bigfoot or fairies or whatever. But the idea of going out into the woods with a sense of reverence and stating that you are basically an interloper there and you're asking for a permission to be there, I think is not only logical to do, but it has a kind of common courtesy to it, where I think that that allows that world in which you're stepping into to be much more accepting. So I have no problem with gifting. I've just not done it myself.
Gary asked, what about jinn or genies?
Wow, these are great questions as well too. You have a very, very intelligent audience, and I do like coming on shows like this. So genies, that's where the word genius comes from. So it means, like, again, we're dealing with an intelligence, right? And then we're talking about genies as well too, that were claimed in the Islamic tradition to be made from a smokeless fire. So they're not angels and they're not exactly demons either, but they are something created out of the elements itself, right? Now, the thing about genies and jinn is they can reanimate a corpse. They can actually go into the newly deceased and reanimate it and use it as its body. So we talk about a lot of vampire legends. When we talk about these, whenever it relates to Islam, many times we're not dealing with the blood sucking creature that we would think of when we think of the Strigoi or the typical vampire from Eastern Europe, but we're dealing with a possession of an entity that causes the undead to take a life, and very much in Islamic traditions, the genies, the jinn, act as everything from poltergeists to a demonic haunting, full-bodied apparitions, really the whole entire gamut. So it's good to be culturally reflective of a certain circumstance whenever you're going into it, because hauntings and cryptids and all this other stuff means different things to different people.
Yep. And that's like everybody sees. A lot of them, they see rakes and stuff that come out of the
Mhm.
wood.
That's right. And that's like the Wendigo as well, too. We're dealing with a very specific Native American tradition. And now people are going out there and seeing Wendigos wherever they go. Whenever, at one time this was the Cree Indian and this was, around the Great Lakes. But now we've appropriated that and made it kind of like our boogeyman, whenever it did definitely have a cultural significance that we kind of removed from it.
Right. And I mean, a lot of your Native Americans, too, they dressed in all those deer horns and the skulls and stuff for their ceremonial. What's not
That's
saying
right.
that it could be a Native American spirit that looks like a Wendigo?
That's exactly. And then you have the Irish god too, the Ceronius over there, which is depicted as a horned god as well too. So we do see this developing in cultures around the world. Any culture that is very close to the land and requires living off the land for survival a hunter-gatherer culture, I guess, if you will, they're always going to look at, especially the male version of animals within the region, because they have a virility and a power to them. And without the male animal, there's no going to be no new life or anything. So they're very dependent upon those animals as well. But when we look at the character of the Wendigo, most of the time, these are things that are developed from witchcraft, not witchcraft in a Western tradition, a European tradition, but witchcraft in a sense of people being able to manipulate the world around them for ill or for good. But whenever we talk about Wendigo, when we talk about skinwalkers and things, there's no such thing as a good Wendigo or a good skinwalker. These are elements that have kind of taken on a life of their own, and there's something to be avoided. But like I said, we made these into boogeymen when in fact they mean something very specific to whatever culture you're talking about.
Right. Jeanette asks, do you think a lot of them might live underground or just another plane of existence?
Right. So that's a great question. What is her name again? Her name is
Jeanette?
Jeanette. Jeanette, so that's a great question. So here in Western Pennsylvania, we live up on top of a massive coal mine system, and it stretches for miles and miles. So if you were an elusive animal, you could definitely stay hidden by that. And you look at places like Kentucky and really any place that have even very slight cave systems, you could stay hidden underground if you wanted to. And I think that might be part of it. I really do. But I think that at the end of the day, I'm going to have to say that these are beings that exist on a plane of a different plane of existence. And I'm not saying it's like from another world. I'm talking about them being from this world. It's like the layer of an onion. Okay, we live on this one layer, and if you hold an onion skin up to the light, it's translucent. You can see through it, but you really can't make much out of it. You can see some shadow. So
Right.
what happens if the world is very much like that? What happens if we live on like the surface of this onion, but there are so many different layers underneath that? But every now and then, if the light is just right, that other side kind of shows itself through. Or
Mhm.
maybe, we look at look at cultures around the world. October 31st has significance even in Asian cultures, right? There's something magical about that particular time. June 21st, the same way. And these are times whenever the veil between this world and the next is at its thinnest. So it's very possible there's something cyclical to the nature of existence, to the point where there are times whenever these natural portals open up and let each side bleed into one another.
Right. Rebecca asked, what about the Jersey Devil?
Okay, so good old Mother Leeds. This is going back. Usually, the story takes place before the Revolutionary War, or sometime right around that. Let's put it this way: America is in flux at very best. We don't stand on very firm ground. The world around us is very chaotic, and that is the world into which the Jersey Devil is born. And as the legend goes, Mother Leeds lives in this little shack out in the Pine Barrens, and she has 12 children, and she becomes pregnant, and the 13th child comes, and she kind of curses it. In raising that size of family, hard scrabble conditions in the Jersey Pine Barrens, so feeding a family that size would be quite difficult. So we can't fault her for being a horrible mother, but we can say that she definitely had some postpartum stress going on, because as the baby was born, she curses it. Whether she says that she wants it dead, or she says, let the devil take it, whatever particular story you look at. But the end game of the story is that she has this child, which is actually some sort of monstrous creature that has wings. She bears it. It flies a couple times around the room and goes up out of the chimney into the night, never to be seen again by the Leeds family. But as tradition goes, it still haunts that particular area. It haunts it so much that the New Jersey hockey team even has it as a mascot, right? The Jersey Devils.
Yep.
So whenever this took place, it kind of took on a life of its own, and we can find newspaper articles in the early 1800s whenever schools were canceled in parts of Pennsylvania and parts of New Jersey because people had seen the Jersey Devil about, right? Whether flying about or in somebody's backyard. But the Jersey Devil is definitely a chimera of sorts. It has kind of this long neck, kind of resembles a giraffe and a camel. These bat-like wings, these hoofed appendages. But the hoof is very significant because that's synonymous with the devil. So that might be artistic license going on right there. But whatever it is an interesting looking creature that doesn't make any logical sense.
Right.
Now, skeptical people have said, because that part of New Jersey deals a lot with shipping routes, that it's possible that somebody brought back a bat, a very specific type of bat, and I can't remember, maybe hammer-faced bat, hammer-nosed bat, something like that. But if you look at that really great woodcut of the Jersey Devil, the very iconic one, it does kind of resemble this very large bat that lives in the tropics. So people have suggested there was this bat that was transported on one of the cargo ships, bringing in bananas or something, and it got loose, and that kind of added to the story. I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's been one of my dreams to get to the Jersey Pine Barrens to see what's going on there, because not only is the New Jersey Devil said to live in there as well, but Bigfoot, and this is a really cool thing. And very few people talk about cryptopaleontology, or I'm sorry, cryptobotany. But there are people that have actually seen man-eating plants within the Pine Barrens. There was a report going back maybe 20 years ago when somebody reported coming across a tree that was in the process of devouring a deer. So it seems like some strange things go on in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. But I would also mind you to be very careful there as well too, because for a while, probably up into the 1970s, the mob from Atlantic City would take the people that they eliminated and drop them off in the Pine Barrens. So I think that's a good place to bury a body. So just think about that whenever you're going out there looking for things that go bump in the night, because there might be other things out there besides monsters.
Right. Jeanette asks, do you believe it's true about the big hole in Antarctica that has an ancient form of life living there?
Yeah. So I'm a bit of a romantic whenever it comes to those things. But I also, so I have to be skeptical. I have to be skeptical because I do teach courses in not only the paranormal, but also in the cryptozoological as well, too. So I want to make sure that I'm at least logical about this. Do I hope that it exists? 1000%. But there's not been enough concrete evidence that I've read and researched that allows me to believe definitively that that is right there. But I'm keeping an open mind.
Right. And Carol says, yes, the Pine Barrens are very creepy. See, Carol lives in New Jersey, so.
Oh, right. Well, then we might have to go on a expedition there, Carol.
Oh, she'd definitely be up for that.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that.
Do you find in your Bigfoot research that they hang around near cemeteries quite a bit, or tragic areas where wars have happened? And
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I think that when we look at Bigfoot, oftentimes they are around places where trauma occurred. Now, again, because I live in Western Pennsylvania, this was the site of the French and Indian War. We have
yep,
revolutionary battles that took place around here, so we are pretty rife with battlefields. But another thing is, in the same kind of line of thinking, um, cemeteries are also synonymous with the Dogman legend, and
yep,
not only cemeteries, but Indian burial mounds as well too. So there is something to that. That there is an interconnectivity between the world of the supernatural and the paranormal, and also the places that are these liminal areas where we bury our dead. I don't know exactly what that connection is, but there is definitely a connection to be made.
right. And Carol said she would love that.
Well, hey, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have. So I'm on Facebook. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. is my author page, or Ronald Murphy. You can just like me a regular page as well too. And I really do look forward to getting in touch with people, because I learn, like, every time I do a show, I learned something from the people that are asking questions as well. It's this interchange of information that is so very important. So whomever is out there that wants to get in touch with me, uh, feel free on social media. I'm on Instagram as well too. Yeah, look me up and we'll have a conversation.
Have you found a lot of dogman sightings starting to pop up in Pennsylvania? I know we're starting to get a lot of them here in Missouri.
Absolutely, there are. Yeah, absolutely. I've probably been investigating the Dogman in Pennsylvania for probably about 24 years. So it's been going pretty well. And I was actually investigating the Dogman before. I mean, that's whenever people still called it a werewolf, right? And then the Dogman name kind of took over. But I've researched and I've done talks in the places like a Land Between the Lakes, and it's really one of my favorite subjects to talk on.
Gary asked, "What would a dogman be doing in a cemetery or graveyard?"
Okay, so this is a great question, okay? And I think one of the best ways to answer this is not looking in North America, but looking towards Africa of all places. And we could go back, 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, and look at ancient Egypt. Whenever Anubis is the probably iconic dog man, a person with a head of a dog, in that case, it's a jackal. And we see that the god Anubis is actually quite ancient. It goes far beyond the pyramids. But from its very inception, it was associated with graveyards and these liminal areas where people bury their dead. It has been suggested that the dogman works in the same way with Native American burial grounds, that it's a protective spirit and it's a guardian of these sacred places. And I guess by extension, you could say that they also are around cemeteries. So nobody really can explain why. But what I can tell you is through my research, I can show you going back at least 6,000 years with an unequivocal connection between the dogman or the lycanthrope or whatever you want to call it to cemeteries and graveyards as well.
Well, that's like my cousins Ed and Lorraine. They worked a werewolf case. Oh, this is
Uh
going
huh.
back in, I think, like the 60s.
Hmm.
They worked a werewolf case up in Connecticut.
Yes, yes, I do know of that case. As a matter of fact, I do know of that case very well. And a lot of people, whenever you hear that, they like to stray away from it because we're talking about, what Hollywood imagines. A person being able to physically change into another form. But that's not necessarily what we're talking about. Probably 23 years ago, I interviewed somebody in Scranton, Pennsylvania, who had a dogman encounter. And it wasn't an encounter out in the woods, it was actually an encounter in a psychiatric hospital. He was working there. There was a full moon that night, and one of the residents said that he was going to be transforming into a werewolf. And after a few hours, the resident did transform into werewolf. Now, not physically, he didn't change physically, but his mind told
Right.
him that he was a different form. And all of a sudden, he had this kind of renewed strength and he became quite vicious. So, in his mind, he became a dog man, and everybody around him had to deal with that psychosis, because if you believe that you're something that you're not, you definitely can take on those attributes. And we could look at the Vikings when we talk about the berserkers. People that donned the hides of a bear and took over that persona. And class as well of the Vikings, there was also people that I believe they were called the Wolf Dar, that took on the pelts of wolves and became these blood drinking savages as well.
Right. And I've also noticed too, I ended up working a skinwalker case several years ago, and it was actually in a cemetery. And this thing, my dad went up into the cemetery by himself. He was just walking around. This hawk landed up in a tree. So my dad walked to it, and usually a hawk will take off when you walk towards it. This thing just vanished in broad daylight. And one of my members come and got me to come check out the woods back there, and there's that same hawk sitting in the tree right there in the woods looking at us. So
Wow.
it pinned my dad up against a tree, and he ended up having, like, it looked like a claw mark right here on his wrist. He ended up getting sick. He stayed in the car for the rest of the night. We started investigating back by the woods past dark, and one of my members decided to stray off and go down further. Well, she heard something walking at her, and she was like, in 5 seconds, was hiding behind me and wouldn't move. So we heard something up on the fence line, started walking up there, and a buddy of mine who's a paranormal investigator, he shined a flashlight down. He said, "Don't take one more step." He hit the flashlight down. There was a fence post sticking out, and I was that far getting impaled through my stomach. And right above our head, an owl lets out a hoot.
Wow, wow, wow. That is incredible. That is incredible.
And
Wow, that's a great story.
that was a
Again,
case.
yeah, it shows everything is interconnected too.
Yep. And with us, my dad and I are both part Native American because my grandmother was full-blooded Comanche. And so I think it kind of singled us both out as like another Native American tribe. They could tell that.
I believe that. Sure. Yep. I think that they recognize their own.
Yep. And the Comanches are descendants off the Navajos, where the original skinwalkers are created.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was, we went back a couple times during the day, but I showed some new members where that happened, but we've never been back there to investigate. I had a few other members. I told them to stay out of there, and they went back on their own. And they said they seen this squirrel. This squirrel couldn't even climb a tree. It was acting all sorts of strange and weird. And I know they shapeshift to animals, and they say they travel up to like 50 miles a night, and they frequent cemeteries digging up bodies to make more skinwalkers.
Right, right, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all creepy stuff, man. Very, very creepy stuff.
and that was the last time we went back there. We drive by it every now and again, but we don't we don't stop. My dad will not walk. After that experience, he does not go in cemeteries.
Wow.
And yeah, he was sick for a couple days from it, and then that claw mark just kept reappearing. It disappeared, come back. I think it lasted for like
Mm.
weeks.
Yeah. What does he think that happened? What is his conclusion?
He believes it was a skinwalker. He could feel it wasn't something demonic,
Mhm.
because with a demonic entity, you can feel a little different with that. You feel the more heavier pressure and all that if it's something demonic. And the heat, he did
And
not
smells and things like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
smell nothing. He just felt it when it pinned him up against the tree.
Wow. Wow.
And it's crazy stuff. I mean, we're both hunters. I grew up in the woods since I was 6 years old, and I mean, we've captured strange stuff on game cameras in the woods. We were deer hunting one morning, and it just broke daylight, and my camera pinged on my phone. And I look at it. Here's this strange mist going in front of the camera, and it's just floating there, and it's just probably about this wide, and we look out to the deer stand because we're not too far from the camera, and I'm looking down there, and you could see it with your own eyes that it was just sitting there floating, and then it just disappeared.
Wow. Wow. That's see. I envy you guys. You have so many great stories, and I have stories as well too. I mean, I've witnessed things that I cannot rationally explain, but you guys have been through some stuff.
Oh yeah, and down there used to be a house down there, and a little girl had fell and broke her neck off the front porch in the 1800s, and so we've got our strange stuff here. Plus, our land is all painted with blood and stuff like that from the Civil War, and then we've got the Mormon massacres.
Absolutely,
Now, the
that's
first one
right. That's
I
right.
did,
Yeah.
I investigated Hans Mill
Go
for the
ahead.
first time, and that day we went down there during the day. You could smell a dead smell, like something decaying, like a dead animal. We go back.
Wow.
We go back that night. The smell is gone. We don't smell
Hmm.
nothing. We're standing there, and there's a creek there. There's woods on the other side. This is an open field, and we're hearing something being thrown into the water, like rocks.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
dunk it. Couldn't figure out
You
what.
have no. You, yeah. You don't think that was connected to the demonic at all because of that smell of rotten meat?
It could be because of the land. It was. I mean, they slaughtered men, women, children. They didn't care who they slaughtered down there, and the
Right.
bodies
Right.
were thrown down a well. So, and
Oh,
the well's
yeah.
been so they can't find the bodies.
Yeah. You Yeah. Do you know if anybody tried to do any kind of ritual on that property that might have opened up a door that they
They
couldn't shut?
they could have,
Yep.
because that
Yep.
property was a big party place for kids. They knew it was haunted.
Yep.
So they'd go down there and
Yep.
have
Amen. Yep.
play with their Ouija boards down there, and they do all kinds of stuff down there. And they used to take their trucks and rip
Yep.
up the land. And now that they got it all fenced in, the Mormon church stepped in. They pay, paid it to have it all fenced in. You can't drive a vehicle out there. And now the cops
Mm.
actually patrol it. We're the only
Yeah.
one
And that
pushing
happens,
there.
right. And that happens a lot in my area as well, too. These places that were considered um, not so much sacred, but these were places where some pretty bad things happen, right? And people would go in there with Ouija boards and they try to contact spirits, and what they're doing is they're opening up doors that they can close because it's you have no idea who you're going to talk to. You have no idea who you're going to contact.
Yeah. Gary says, do you remember that guy who was talking to a lady dispatcher and he'd seen a creature she asked to describe it and he was cut off?
I do remember that, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Now there's quite a few of those going around. One of them, whenever there was he called the dispatcher, and there was something in his yard, and he kept on talking, and she said that she was going to send out the police. I'm not sure if that's the one that he's talking about or not, but I know that there were several out there that were making their rounds for a while.
Carol asks, what do you think about locations that have limestone and water near?
Carol, excellent question. So, what I do whenever I do a lecture about ghosts and hauntings is point out immediately that there are some geological, environmental factors that go in to the manifestation of spirits, and that's just the way it is. If you look around the world, that's just what happens. In my area, limestone. You look up at places like New Hampshire, the Granite State has a lot of UFO sightings up there. As a matter of fact, the Barney and Betty Hill incident, one of the most researched alien abduction instances, took place up there as well too. And we look at castles over in Europe. The idea of the stone tape theory that holds residual hauntings into place. But limestone, definitely one of these things that is a battery, I guess, by which the spiritual draws energy from. Also, things like running water, well, that's not natural, but train tracks nearby seems to have some sort of stored kinetic energy. Power lines as well, too. And whenever I go in to investigate any kind of haunting, these are the things that I look for. But absolutely, getting back to your question, if there is water around and there is limestone around and other certain rocks as well too, without a doubt, you're going to say that this place, while it may not be haunted, it has the ideal conditions for a haunting.
Right. And for the viewers, this is our Missouri Bigfoot.
That's right. That's right. That's the Momo. That's off of Small Town Monsters, I do believe, who did a
Yep.
great job with that. Yep.
And if you're not familiar with the Wendigo, there's your Wendigo.
That's right. That's right.
And
All things you don't want to meet with Dark Alley.
right. Gary asks, is the Tower of London made of limestone?
You know what? That's a great question. That's something I truly do not know. I'm trying to think about what, because I know that London. Uh, Hold on a second. I will get the answer. I'll ask my boy. Hey, Ronan, could you do me a favor? Find out what the Tower of London, what kind of stone it's made out of. Tower of London? Yeah. I got my boy. He's in the next room over. I'll get him to look it up because I would actually be anxious to find that out. And my feelings about ley lines, I am a huge proponent of ley lines. I was able to do a lot of good research over in Scotland and England, and they are fascinated by ley lines. Now, their history is much older as well, too. But I think when we start connecting the dots, we see things like um, uh, Loch Ness, Lake Champlain, and these places that hold lake monsters on a very similar longitudinal grid. While it might not be a perfect ley line, it's definitely centering on certain places that have an energy within the earth.
Kingston Dragstone or something.
What is it?
Like it's like.
Hold on one second. I will get a definitive answer for you here briefly. So the Tower of London is built with ragstone, which is a tough gray limestone. So thanks to my son over here, we found out that indeed the Tower of London is built with limestone.
Awesome. I will
Pretty
show
cool.
you one of my buddies, Carter Bouchard, our Missouri Bigfoot guy. This is actually one of his photo evidence that he captured on a game camera out in the woods.
Wow, looks like fingers to me.
Yep. and they were leading an expedition out there at that time, and he left the camera out there. He come back the next day, he got this picture, and then there's a log, and the Bigfoot had counted out in rocks how many people were in his expedition, and the one doctor that was with him, he kept that rock separate because that guy was separate from that expedition he was leading.
Wow. That is, I've never heard that before.
And Gary says, "Tell him I said hello and thank you."
I will. He said, thank you, Ronan. He said, okay, yeah. No, I appreciate that. So my kids, I have 5 kids. So my 2 girls, not so much into it, but I'm trying to get my boys into it because this can be a very lonely life as well too. And I'm glad your dad is with you in this because if you're with a family doing this, it's one of the best things you can do. And every place, yeah, absolutely. And we went down to Florida last year, and you know that we had to hit the Everglades, and we did some skunk ape investigations, and we did come across a couple really unusual tracks. So it's a very fulfilling way to live. We get to learn a lot about the history because of ghosts, and we get a lot to learn about the environment because of the Bigfoot connection.
Carol says, "Do you think people vanishing in the state parks could be paranormal related in any way? I know people could get attacked by real animals, but could Bigfoot or something like that be involved?"
Yeah. So people come up to me all the time and they say, is there any accounts of Bigfoot attacking people or the dogman attacking people? And I always point out none that I know of, but people go missing in state parks all the time. So maybe that is what's causing their disappearance.
Right. And we had our first Bigfoot experience actually in Pennsylvania, up in the Allegheny Mountains, where all those
Okay.
are. We were headed to Gettysburg, and it was about 1:30 in the morning. I was driving, and my dad was watching out the window, and my headlights hit this figure in a garbage can, digging down in a garbage can. He squatted down, and the house was back up into the mountain a little ways. And it stood up, and it had the trash can lid in its hand. My dad said its chest was way out to here, its arms were way,
Wow.
and it turned and looked at him and curled its lip. And I was focused on the road because you know how you got them inclines and real sharp turns. And he says to me, "You never believe what I just saw." And I said, "What? See a ghost or something?" And he said, "No, I just saw a Bigfoot." He said he was
Wow, man.
light brownish color, and I wanted to turn around and go back, and he was like, "No, he probably throw that trash can lid right through our car." I asked Carter about it. He says either he would have been gone or he would have tore your car up. So I got
Man.
look when we got to our hotel, I got looking about some reports. And there's been a lot of sightings up in that Shawnee National Park in the Allegheny Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely. We got weird things around here.
Gary asked, "Do you remember back in '69 of the kid who disappeared while trying to play hide and seek?"
Yes, yes. So it was that he was like literally 10 or 20 feet away from the family. And they were playing around in their camping area, and he went like behind a tree and gone. And there was a huge manhunt. Like almost immediately there was a manhunt, and they never found any trace of the child whatsoever.
Well, that's like the
How do you
missing
explain that away?
that's like the missing 411s that disappear in the Appalachian. And
Absolutely. Yeah, David Paulides has a few good shows about that as well. I think that's something to look into, definitely.
there's a lot of them hunters that are going missing back there that never seen again.
Never seen again. Seasoned hunters that know the terrain and everything else, and they just vanish.
Jeanette says it was reported about a mile away from way some people reported a big hairy man carrying him.
Yeah, that's scary stuff. And of course, people have said that they're bringing about this theory of feral people as well, instead of Bigfoot. And maybe, I mean, I don't think that a feral person is going to be able to stay hidden for very long in the woods. But maybe they can. But I think that if feral people start carrying off other people's children, they're going to be spotted pretty soon.
Right, and there's those feral people in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee that there was a guy that did a movie on one of them, and I guess there was a park ranger that had it happen to him. He experienced feral people and managed to survive, him and a girl, so they made a movie out of it. And the guy was interviewed on several podcasts about running into the feral people of the Smoky Mountains, and they're known to live in
Right.
the old mine shafts, and they're
Yeah.
cannibals.
Yeah, I mean that is great stuff for movies, definitely. But whenever it comes to human beings, I don't put anything out of the realm of possibility because human beings are crazy SOBs, and I'm more afraid of a person than I am a Bigfoot.
Right. And them Pharaoh people, they date back to like the Civil War times. They hid so they didn't have to fight in the war, and I guess they would raid
Mm.
like soldiers' camps, and they would sneak in there and steal food. They would burn down the tents and drag off soldiers in the middle of the night and stuff like that.
That's right, right.
And now I'm hearing that there's reports of Pharaoh people here in Missouri now.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
That's supposedly what they look like.
Yeah, I want to sit this one out, my friend. No way am I messing with that.
And
It looks like something from 28 years later.
I know, and they say they're loony. They can't talk. How they communicate is they whistle, and that's all they do. Kind of like what that movie "The Hills Have Eyes" is made out of, from and
Yep,
Return.
yep. I remember it. I remember it.
Granzer said, "Feral people, they nearly got me." And in case of the disappearance of Dennis of 1969-ish, one theory was feral people got the poor boy,
Yeah. Mhm.
and then the Donner Party got a little feral.
Oh yes, to the point of cannibalism.
And Ned asked, "Wasn't The Hills Have Eyes based on a true family?" Yeah, it was. And
That. Yep. Very true. Very true.
that was
Yeah.
based on the West Virginia family.
Yeah. There's also a family in Scotland. Oh, I'm trying to remember what the name was. Oh, I can't think of it right now. But there was a feral family that lived in a cave in Scotland that was right along like a well-traveled route, and they would kidnap people off the route and eat them.
Mm. Gary says, "Remember that red-headed giant army, the army found in Afghanistan?"
Yes, the giant of Kandahar, one of my favorite stories. I would love to see there's some sort of proof about this. I've seen nothing from the army, and unfortunately, the only interviews I've ever seen were not people that actually served in that particular unit, but people that heard about people that served in that unit. Giants, especially red-haired giants, not only in Afghanistan but also in Lovelock Cave in Nevada. These stories are all over the place, and I really am intrigued by giants.
Yeah, and I've heard of that. And then, well, like the Tennessee wild man is supposed to be like a giant human being
Huh?
as well.
Sure, sure.
And he's spotted a lot in the Smoky Mountain regions and goes all the way up to the Appalachian. Well, that's like West Virginia's got the screaming woman of the woods in the
Hmm.
Appalachian.
That's right.
About that
Yep.
lumber.
What one of those local legends? Absolutely.
And you're down near like York, Pennsylvania. There's an old urban legend out there called the Seven Gates of Hell.
That's right. Yeah, I'm not too far away from that, but yeah, that's one of those legends as well too. That there's certain areas in the on the earth, whether you're talking about ley lines or whatever, but there's certain places around this globe that there is entryway into hell itself, and I live not too far away from one of those.
Yeah, I remember the story when I first started my paranormal career about the Seven Gates of Hell in York,
Hmm.
and we were planning on going out there to investigate it, and we just started having all these strange experiences, nightmares, and I was like, no, that's a warning sign not to go out there. Which
Amen, brother. Amen.
I ended up writing a short story about Seven Gates of Hell for Halloween
Really?
here called Hell in the Woods.
Very nice. Very nice. I gotta hear this someday.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy of it. Somebody asked me for Halloween one year to write it for a site, and I wrote it, and it came out pretty good. And now it's being turned into a movie,
Very cool indeed. I'll be
which
looking forward to that.
which is written by me.
All right. Okay. Nice. Nice. Nice.
I put a
Yeah,
little
I'll be definitely.
twist on it. It's still going to
I'm
incorporate
looking
your
forward to this.
factor, but it's got a little twist on it.
Sounds good, brother. Sounds good.
And
Oh, well, there you go. You're like Michael Landon from Little House on the Prairie. You write, direct, and star. That's good.
yep, that's it's gonna be a good movie. It's about done. I've got a few more of the kill scenes in it that I've got to finish tweaking a little bit, but all the scripts and everything is all done for it.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I've been working on that since January of last year,
So wow,
and I've
wow,
been talking with some film guys, so we're gonna get the wheels in motion on that, and I've got several people that are gonna star in it. So
perfect, perfect. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that, my friend.
yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a big production movie. I've got several locations, especially for the old asylum part.
Mhm.
I've got a place here in Missouri that I'm going to talk to the owners. That it looks like it's an old reform school,
Oh, okay.
and
You
it's
might be able to find some other ghosts in there besides your movie.
yeah, it's haunted. There's confirmed deaths. A girl, 11-year-old girl, died there. She dove off the roof
Oh my goodness.
because of the poor treatment when it was a military reform school. They were putting them through. She couldn't
Sure.
take it. She dove off the roof.
Mm.
Granzer said in that they were close to that region during that time of the supposed sighting. They said yeah, something like that would get out big time at the time, yet they never heard anything. So about it, so I figured it's just made up.
Yeah, it just might not be very well researched.
Right? Granzer also said Ronald Bigfoot tries to get pictures of Russell Reynolds of Beyond Life Paranormal podcast.
Love it, love it.
He probably does. Doubt it. There's probably a lot of things
He
that
has
try to
to
get.
prove. Yeah, he has to prove to his other Bigfoot friends that he saw you.
Yeah, that we're out there hunting them. I'm sure they're hunting us as we're hunting them. So
I'm sure that's the case.
I know ghosts do.
Oh, without a doubt, they know that you're there. Sure, they do.
Oh yeah, especially your darker stuff. They're hunting you as well too.
Oh, they probably been hunting you before you started hunting them.
Oh yeah, they know everything about you. They know your life history, your family, everything.
That's
They're
right. That's why they can attack your vulnerability.
Yep. I'll show you another interesting. This is another one of Piece of Carter's images he got. Now, a
Oh
family
yeah,
that he works with, they live off the land, they grow their own food, they're homesteaders. And this thing would raid their greenhouses every night for food and indulge himself, fall asleep in the greenhouse, and would wake up if it heard something and press against the plastic to look out to see if anybody's coming.
yeah. That's yeah,
And this one was
yeah.
a
That's scary.
juvenile.
Mm.
Granzer asks, have you been on an hour? Question, Ronald. Where do you see the direction of the paranormal topics going? Some rising, others failing, falling, etc.
Yeah. So whenever it comes to the world of the paranormal, I think that it does go in waves and popularity, and it goes by topics as well too. People are fascinated with anything that is unexplained, and they're also always going to be fascinated about that ultimate mystery in life is what happens after we die. So we're going to have things that are tried and true all the time. Now, what will come and go as a fad will be how we interpret and how we contact that other side. In the late age of spiritualism, that maybe started as late or as early as 1790, and definitely existed into the early 1900s. For that period of couple hundred years, people were using Ouija boards. They were forming religious cults around this kind of stuff in order to get in touch with the other side. So I think that we're going to always have people out there searching, and we'll always have people that are trying to capitalize on that by saying that they have answers or they can communicate with the other side. I think that's always going to be with us, and it's going to be the way people interpret that communication is what's always going to be the thing that changes.
Granzer said, like it seems Bigfoot is big in the news, but not about sighting. Will this debunking push Bigfoot to say the realm of the Loch Ness Monster, where
Mm.
we have not had a sighting in decades?
Right. So I know that there's a lot of sightings of Bigfoot going on in Ohio, and they started to go into the southern part of western Pennsylvania. So I know that was going on for a while. I don't think that Bigfoot will ever get relegated to the idea that it was created by a hoax, because it wasn't. Bigfoot has been around with Native American cultures and in Native American legends for hundreds of years. So the Patterson Gimlin film in no way created the mythos around Bigfoot. It made it culturally relevant. It disseminated in the television, but it does not mean that that's where Bigfoot ends or where it begins. It's a totally different subject outside of the Patterson Gimlin film. As a matter of fact, I wrote a book entitled On Wild Man, tracking Bigfoot through history, and I don't even mention the Patterson Gimlin film in it, is because it is so divisive.
Right. Uh, Granzer asked, Ronald, which is the best documented Bigfoot encounter? A. William Rowe encounter, 1955. B. Patterson Gimlin film, 1967. C. Ape Canyon incident, 1924. D. Albert Ostman abduction, 1924. E. Other.
Well, I think without the William Rowe encounter, we would not have the Patterson Gimlin encounter. I think that Patterson borrowed a lot off of that to make a female Bigfoot in his film. And I think there's a lot of stuff happening uh, behind the scenes on the Patterson Gimlin film to at least lead me to believe that there might have been some chicanery going on. I don't think I don't think that it was an actual honest to goodness Bigfoot film. I want it to be, but I think there was um, uh, enough gray area to think that that might not have been what was filmed. But I think the Osman case is very interesting because he claimed to be kidnapped by Bigfoot. The Ape Canyon case is very interesting as well too, but we are forgetting that the Ape Canyon investigation had a very spiritual side to it as well. The people who were involved in that incident thought that these were some sort of demonic creatures. They thought that they were led to their particular mine by the manifestation of God. It was their destiny, and these kind of demons came over to drive them away. So, whenever you look at all these cases very closely, there is that supernatural element or that human element that makes you think, is this too much woo for me to believe? But in the realm of Bigfoot, I'm going to say the most tantalizing evidence that we have is from Native American research, or I'm sorry, Native American traditions, going from the totem pole down to the stories of the Rock people and the Laurel people, of the Cherokee, and like I said, if you look at all cultures in the United States, as well as the First Nation cultures in Canada, they all have this understanding that there is the hairy man that lives out there.
Hmm. Granzer also said, I was under the impression that the Patterson Gimlin film was debunked long ago. I know I either seen or saw some documentaries on YouTube in the late 2000s that did a deep dive in it.
Right? It looks so good, though, right? And as a kid, that was my introduction to Bigfoot. And nobody wants to see um, their legends disappear. I would hope that the Patterson Gimlin film was genuine, but again, we know Roger Patterson left for a few hours the morning on which it was filmed. He rented a camera specifically to film a Bigfoot. He told Gimlin not to shoot, and we know that the figure filmed on that camera was only about 60 feet away, so they were literally right up on top of it. So there's a lot of that stuff to say. It doesn't sit well with me. So that's the reason why I think it was a hoax. I'm sorry about that. I'm starting to get a little sore throat here. All right, I'm good.
Richie said, my people believed in hairy man, Yeti, and Bigfoot. Richie's
Sure.
Cherokee.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we're not. I don't want to appropriate the idea of the hairy wild man or the Bigfoot, but in these cultures, these Native American cultures, there is a spiritual element to these creatures too that we simply cannot understand.
Yep. And I mean, even in Native American drawings, you've seen them for where they drew them in caves and on stuff like that.
Sure.
And Bigfoot drawings.
Yep, and so did the Aborigines in Australia as well too. If you want to think about the Yowie, so
Yep.
they've been with us, from the very dawn of our human history.
Right. And I don't think they're out there to hurt anybody. They just want to be left alone. That's why they throw things at you. They're like telling you, hey, back off. We don't want to be bothered.
Amen, brother. I believe that wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. Yeah. Buddy, I hate to do this to you. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, call this a little bit short. I'm having some difficult time right now with my throat, and I think I'm about an hour and a half is about all I've got in me, my friend. I apologize profusely, and especially to your wonderful, wonderful, your family break there, your community. What great questions and everything like that. And if they would like to have me back, I would love to do this again.
Definitely do a part two. If people want to get a hold of you, how can I get a hold of you to book you for Paracons or
Okay.
stuff like that?
Yeah, because I'm still looking for Paracons to be booked at this year. So my email is Ronald L. Murphy Jr. at yahoo.com. So my full name, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. at yahoo.com. Or you could go to my website, which is ron-cryptoguru.com. And you can message me on there as well, too. Or social media, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. or Ronald L. Murphy at various places. Like I said, you go to Instagram or to Facebook as well too.
Okay. And I thank you for coming on tonight. We'll definitely get you back on for a part 2.
Yep, my pleasure, my friend, my pleasure. Like you said, today I had a rather long day at work, and I thought, this is going to be, and it was a great show, no doubt about it. But my throat just won't let me continue any longer, buddy.
That's all right. We'll definitely get you back on.
Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon, and thanks
Yep.
to all of your listeners as well.
All right. I'm going to put you backstage, close the show out, and I'll be with you in just a minute. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I hope you guys found the show informational. We will not be on Sunday night for our usual Sunday show because my dad and I are both guests on a podcast. So come check us out on Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal Podcast on All Access TV Network Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. My dad and I will both be on there. We'll be live on Facebook and YouTube. So come on there, bring your questions, and check us out on there Sunday night. And we will see you guys next week, same time, same channel. With that being said, remember, if you're being bullied in the paranormal field, you do have a voice. Nobody's better than anybody in this field. We're all after the same common goal to prove the existence of life after death. So with that being said, everybody, have a good night. God bless, and we will see you again soon. Same time, same channel. Ignore the outro. I still haven't had time to change it. So that being said, see you guys again soon. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe out there if you're investigating and traveling this weekend.